Hey everyone. Hi. I am so excited to be doing this 2021 goal setting session. I hope you guys are excited as well. We're just going to give a couple minutes for folks to join us. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Truce. Hi, Miss Gray. I would love for everyone to share where they're tuning in from. So I'm in New Jersey, California, Germany, Seattle, Atlanta, Maryland. Welcome. I'm going to wait for you guys to come on in. Thank you for taking time out of your holiday, your day to come spend an hour with us as we work on 2021 goal setting. As we're waiting to get started, if you know anyone that you think will find this session helpful, please just copy paste the link with them. We're streaming on multiple platforms, but I believe most people are on YouTube. But copy and paste the links and share it with anyone that you feel will find this session helpful. So I see Ghana, Portland, Oregon, Albuquerque, Connecticut, Chicago. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Philly, London, New York, Montana, Costa Rica. So exciting. So, I was talking to Esther, who you're going to meet in a second, about Esther is part of Clever Girl Finance, about, just this session and the timing with everything that's happened in 2020. And are people going to join? Do people care about goal setting? Are people ready to goal set? But I think if just the response we got from setting up the session was any indication, you guys definitely are. So without further ado, we're going to get into the session. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Bola Shokumbi. I'm the founder and CEO of Clever Girl Finance. I am a financial education expert, and my goal, my mission with this platform is to empower women to achieve financial wellness and get to the point where you're living life on your own terms. And financial wellness is basically whatever it means to you. It's not what, people want you to become or want you to achieve. It's very personal, and it's ultimately tied to your happiness. And so when we talk through this goal setting session, whatever goals that you're creating should be tied to you, what you want for yourself, the things that are truly going to make you happy. And so if you haven't already, be sure to follow Clever Girl Finance on Instagram. Our handle is at Clever Girl Finance. We have a great time engaging there. We have tons of fun on Instagram. And if you are new to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, like this video, hit the like button below so that YouTube can promote this and other people can find this goal setting session video. And make sure you stop by clevergirlfinance.com. We've put some links in the chat and in the comments of the page you're watching, so you can download our worksheets for this session. You don't have to use the worksheets for this session. You can download the worksheets and come back to them later. We have a ton of worksheets. We have over 40 plus worksheets, and one of them is a worksheet that's tied to setting your core values and goal setting. So feel free to do that now or later. But this is going to be a working session. So get your notebooks out, get your pen, minimize your distractions. If you are at work, it's okay if you just listen. You don't have to watch. You're going to get as much value if you're listening, so you can minimize the screen. And feel free to ask your questions. We'll be answering them as we go. Before I get into it, I have to shout out Esther. So like I said, Esther is part of Clever Girl Finance. She's on here with me. I'm going to put her on the screen. And for a lot of you probably know her if you're part of our community. Hi, Esther.
Hi, Bola. I am so excited. It's 11 p.m. in the UK, and I feel like I've just woken up. That's how excited I am.
Well, thank you so much. Esther has been our master planner for this session. For a lot of things we do with Clever Girl Finance, Esther is our behind the scenes, incredible customer experience manager. So you guys see me all the time, but you don't get to see Esther. And so I wanted her to come on here and say hi. And we're both wearing red. Yay! Okay, so Esther's going to be here in the comments. If you have questions, she'll be responding to any questions you have. But we'll go ahead and get started. So Esther, we'll see you later.
Bye.
So as I mentioned, this is a working session, and this is basically your time to just take some time out of, everything going on in the world, the holidays, just to set goals and set intention for this upcoming new year. It's really, really important that we do that. And what's really interesting is that a friend of mine sent me a text earlier today about, typically this time of year on social media, we would see people posting things like 2020 is going to be, or this year is going to be my best year yet. 2021 is going to be the year I do this. And for some reason, well, we all know the reason, there's not a lot of those comments of 2021 being my best year, because I think people are afraid of what has happened in 2020. Nobody really knows what 2021 is going to be like. But I will encourage you to claim a successful 2021, to set the intention for a successful 2021, because despite the craziness of 2020, despite everything that has happened this year, there are people who have still thrived. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be one of them if you're setting the intention and you're going to take the strategic action, you're going to work around your goals. So don't be afraid to claim your intention for this upcoming year, even though, things are a little crazy. So on this working session, we're going to be covering your money mindset, which is really important, your foundation. We're going to review how your 2020 was. I'm going to be asking you some questions to help you think about and reflect on this past year. We're going to talk about a plan for 2020. We're going to talk about the key actions you need to take in order to succeed with your goals that you're going to be setting. And we're also going to talk about how to recession-proof your finances. And I'll get into that a little bit more, but just with everything that has happened with the pandemic this year, there's a lot of economic impact, and that impact has been massive. Depending on where you live, governments have done their best to try to buffer it. I mean, unemployment is high. People can't just go about to work and business as usual because of health concerns. And so we're probably going to continue to see ramifications of that, into the next year. And so how do you prepare? So I'll talk about that as well. So let's get started. And I have my notes here, I have my screen, I have my pen, so just bear with me as I go through everything. And for anyone who's asking about the worksheets, you can just grab a pen and a paper right now, but we do have worksheets in, there's a link that Esther had posted where you can go and download the Clever Girl Finance goal planning worksheets, but you can do that at any time. Just right now, just grab your pen and paper, and then you can follow along that way. Okay, so before you set goals, before you start setting intention, the first thing you need to do is, just let go of the past. Forgive yourself for your money mistakes. 2020 has been very difficult for many people. And this session means different things to many people. Some people are here because they are starting over financially. Some people are here because they're having to rebuild and recover. Some people are here because they want to accelerate, what they've been doing with their finances in terms of saving and investing. And some people are here because they are just starting out. And so when you are at this point, whether you're recovering, you're accelerating, you're starting out, you have a past, you have a financial past, you have mistakes you have made, you have decisions that you have made that you may not have liked. And so it's important that as you step forward into, this new year with this fresh intention, that you assess that past, you look at the mistakes, and if there's a burden that you're carrying on yourself about mistakes that you have made or decisions that you shouldn't have made or whatever it might be, this is time to take the lessons and let go of that past, because you don't want the way you feel to hinder you being able to set the right intention or to hinder you from being successful, because you're constantly dwelling on the past. And dwelling on past mistakes, it takes energy, right? It takes mental energy, it takes emotional energy. And that is energy that you could be channeling towards setting your intention, leveraging those lessons, setting your goals for the new year. And so recognize, yes, I have made mistakes. I have made a lot of mistakes. Take the lessons, right? But then move forward from it. And that's how you can get past them. And that's how you can focus on setting the intention. So there's no shame and there is no judgment when it comes to your past. Everyone has made mistakes. And the reason why I really want to call that out is because I feel like this past year, especially when the pandemic happened, there was a lot of "I told you so" on social media. You should have saved, you should have done this, you should have invested, you should have this, that, this, that. There was a lot of "I told you so." And I feel like, when you tell someone "I told you so," how does that help? What does that help you do, right? The thing has happened, the money has been spent, the decision has been made. And if you keep dwelling on the things that you should have done or on the "I told you so's," then you miss out on opportunities to make progress. So yes, mistakes have happened, but recognize that when you make mistakes, you're not the only one who has made a mistake. We've all made mistakes. Take the lessons and move forward. So that's the first really, really important thing you want to keep in mind as you think about setting your goals and setting your intention. So, N. Jones, you said no shame, no judgment. Love that. Yes, that's what we're about here at Clever Girl Finance. If you follow us, you know that we're not in the business of judging or shaming people. We're in the business of empowerment and motivating folks. Okay, so the second thing that we want to think about as we set our goals, or as we get into setting our goals, is to understand that your mindset is everything, right? Whatever you think is impossible is impossible. Whatever you think is possible, but only if you believe that it is possible. And having the right mindset is your foundation to succeed in the next year, right? You have to be ready to go above and beyond. You have to be ready to do the difficult things. You have to be ready to get out of your own way. You have to be ready to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to be mentally prepared and emotionally prepared to do that. Because, for people who have faced financial difficulty this past year, you know that it's not fun and it's also not easy. But if you have your mindset in the place where you're telling yourself, okay, regardless of what I've been through, regardless of what I'm currently going through, I am going to get past this. I'm going to recover. I may not know all the answers, but I know it's possible. That can make all the difference. Because I think the challenge a lot of people face is when their mindset is not right, when their money mindset is not together, when the opportunity comes, when it presents themselves, they miss it, right? So for example, and I'll give you a random example, someone says, I don't have a job and I need to get a job. I lost my job in 2020. But then you sit and think about, oh, these are all the weeks I'm not working. I don't have any money. I don't have a job. I'm not earning enough. And then this job presents itself to you. But you're so caught up in your previous job that you're like, okay, well, this job doesn't pay me enough money. I'm not going to take it. But that was an opportunity that you missed, because you could have taken this job to bring money in, before you found your better paying job. And that's just a very random example. But when your mindset, when your mind is not in tune with the right intentions, you tend to miss opportunities. You tend to think an opportunity is too small for you, when in actual fact, it could be a stepping stone into something big or something bigger. And so you just want to set the intention. You want to prepare your mind that, I don't have the answers to everything. I don't know how this pandemic is going to play out. I don't know XYZ, but I know that I want to succeed, and I'm going to prepare myself to do the extra effort, to go the extra amount, to get out of my comfort zone and not get caught up in the woe is me and the pity parties and, all of that. So getting your mindset in check is really, really important. The next thing that's really important for you to do is to shift your circle of influence. If you've ever heard the saying, misery loves company, it is so true. And 2020 has been a year of misery. And when I say that, I'm not saying it in the sense that it's a jab or a dig at anybody. I'm just saying that there are different kinds of people, right? There are people that will, because they've had a negative experience, they can never imagine themselves being successful. And because of the way they feel, when they see you trying to be successful, the words that they will say, the things that will come out of their mouth will make you feel like, well, why am I even bothering? Because I can never be successful, because this person has never been successful. They start to project their own negativity on you. And sometimes it doesn't matter how positive you are. When people are perpetually projecting their negativity on you, it discourages you, it demotivates you. And so you want to surround yourself with people who are optimistic regardless of what's happening in life. You want to surround yourself with people who are being intentional about their success. You want to surround yourself with people who are picking themselves back up regardless of what's happening. You want to surround yourself with people who are resilient and not people who are settling for what is happening to them and just letting life happen to them, right? Sometimes things happen beyond our control, but the way we react to those things can make all the difference. And so who you surround yourself with is incredibly important, especially when it comes to influence and even their impact on your mindset. So, Masita, you said you have to watch the people around you. Not everyone is for you. That is so true. Not everyone is for you. And sometimes it has nothing to do with you. Sometimes it does have something to do with you, right? But a lot of times they're just projecting their failures, their self-judgments, whatever it might be on you. And you don't want that to affect you. So you want to surround yourself with people that are going to help you win, going to motivate you, who are like-minded, who are going through the journey and ready to focus on their success. Okay, so now that we've gotten those three things like laid out on the table, number one, let go of your past, forgive yourself for your money mistakes, no shame, no judgment. Number two, understand that your mindset is everything. It's important. The way you think is incredibly critical to your success. Number three, shifting your circle of influence. I want us to now go into the 2020 review. So we're going to talk about what your 2020 was like. And so this is where I want you to grab out your notebooks, grab out your pens, and just, you don't have to write full sentences right now. You can come back to this, but just write like phrases or words based on the questions I'm going to ask you, right? The reason why we are doing this assessment, and it might be difficult just depending on how this year was for you, because some people, this year was an inconvenience. Some people, this year was a disaster. Some people this year was like it never happened because their life didn't really change much. So like I said at the beginning, people are here coming from different places, but this reflection is to get you to assess and recalibrate and adjust as we step into this next year. So this is not to make you feel bad. This is not to make you feel ashamed. This is purely for you to assess where you are coming from so that you can create a plan to move forward. It's an assessment to understand what happened, what went wrong, what went amazing, and how you can take all that information and apply it to your success for next year. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions about this past year. And just, this is you writing it. Nobody else is going to see it. And so just be honest with yourself, right? So the first question I'm going to ask is, what financial challenges did you face with the pandemic, if any at all? Question number 1. Question number 2, what was the worst financial decision you made in 2020? What was the worst, absolute worst financial decision? What didn't you do too well with when it came to your money? So I want you to write down these answers. It could be phrases, single words. And then when you write them down, right next to it, right underneath it, write down one lesson or the lessons you learned from each thing. The lessons you learned from the financial challenges you faced as a result of the pandemic, the lesson you learned from the worst financial decision you made in 2020, the lesson you learned from what you didn't do too well when it came to your money. So what I didn't do too well when it came to my money was just really spending a lot on my kids. I felt like it was, and I still feel that this year was just something that messed up their childhood in a way, and I wanted to compensate for that by making them feel happy. And so I bought more toys than I needed to. I spent money on more things for them than I needed to that I normally wouldn't. And so that's one thing I didn't do too well, right? So my lesson is like, okay, I need to get back to realizing that this is life, right? We're going through life. This is an experience in their life, and I can make it a positive experience for them without buying all the things, right? So some of you said overspending, I didn't budget well, buying impromptu, frivolous spending. Nadia, you said that was you and your kids. Crystal, you said repeat question 3. What didn't you do too well? What didn't you do too well when it came to your money? Overspending. And the overspending one, I'm not surprised that that's common because a lot of people were home, right? And when you get in your emotions watching the news, just there's, it's, even if you're not sick from the pandemic, even if you haven't lost your job, just the fact that your life has changed so much and you have to be home, a lot of people channel their emotions through spending, buying clothes to wear, buying high heels, and you're not going to a party this year, and so there are many lessons, I think. Somebody said missing out on the stock market. Oh wow, the comments are going so fast. I'm missing this. Someone said not investing in the stock market, not taking advantage of the stock market low. I don't think that's a missed opportunity. I think there will always be opportunity to invest. Nikia, you said not investing as much as you could, wasting money on eating out. Jana, you said closing your business after 10 years. I'm so sorry about that. Saved no money this year. Very sad about that. So yeah. So by now you guys have written down these frustrations, these failures, these challenges, what you didn't do well with, worst decisions. And so recognize those things, right? But then write a lesson that you learned, because the lesson is where the value is. The lesson is where the success is. It's what you're going to take and apply it to and use to build your next step that you're going to take to get closer to your success. And this year was definitely challenging for many people. So someone just mentioned closing their business. Many people lost jobs. Some people didn't lose their job, but they couldn't go to work because they had their kids at home and they had nowhere to put their kids. Some people went to work despite health concerns, despite having compromised immune systems. So as we think about the fact that we're here, I think for whoever is watching this, you're very fortunate to be here watching this. But there are people out there who really struggled. So aside from all we're talking about, I just want to remind people to show empathy, and in whatever way that you can help other people, especially during this difficult time. It's important that we do that. However you can give back, however you can support people, that's something that is just very important to me, because people are struggling not because of any fault of their own. If you want to work and you cannot go to work because of a pandemic, so anyway, we'll keep moving on. Okay, so now that you've answered those questions, we're going to talk about what went well, right, for 2020. So we've assessed the things that didn't go well, and now we're going to talk about what went well. So in 2020, this can be a new page or the bottom of the same page. What was the best financial decision that you made? What did you do well with when it came to your money? And it doesn't have to be anything massive. We're not talking about, I saved $1 million, I invested $100,000. It doesn't have to be anything massive, but what was the best decision that you made? And what did you do well when it came to your money? And I want you to write that down as well. Write down the lesson, write down the win, right? And celebrate that, because you got through this year and you made some good decisions. I'm sure everybody has a small good decision that you can celebrate. And like I said, it doesn't have to be something massive. You could have decided not to buy certain things. You could have cut back on your spending. You could have saved a bit more. Paula, you said you increased your 401k plan. Jillian, you said you automated your savings. Margaret, you said you bought your car in cash. So someone said they saved their stimulus check. Someone said they stopped getting loans. Amazing. Someone said they became debt-free. Comments are going so fast. I'm trying to keep track. Someone said they followed their budget, bought their first home, got promoted. Okay, so now you know the things that didn't go well, and you know the things that went really well, right? So the next set of questions I want to ask you still tie back to those things, and they have to do with just where you were emotionally and mentally with every failure and with every setback. So what was your mindset like around each setback or failure? And what was your mindset like around each win, right? If you can remember. So now you wrote down those situations where you made those poor decisions, or you felt like that was a bad decision, or you didn't do well. What was your mindset? How did you feel emotionally during that process? And every time you've made a great decision or leading up to making a great decision, what was your emotional state? What was your mindset like? And I want you to pay attention to what you recognize about yourself in each of those situations and find ways to set reminders and be more intentional about choosing the mindsets and the emotional states of when you were making the better decisions, when you were having the wins, right? And your win this year could be, I was able to put food on my table for my kids this year. That's a win. Given the year that we're coming out of, that's a massive win. It could be buying your first home, but as you were making that win, as you had that success, how was your emotional state? How was your mindset? Were you happy? Did you have a good support system? Were you motivated by a past failure? Was there something that had lit the fire underneath you to go out and, do what you had to do to make this smart decision? I want you to just recognize what that is and write it down. And you really want to pay attention to this, because when you can determine where you were emotionally and mentally, you can work on how to make those adjustments as you go into the next year when it comes to dealing with your finances and different financial situations. Because as with life, pandemic or no pandemic, we're all going to face different financial situations. Some of them will challenge us. Some of them will cause us to really have to dig into our emotions and into our mental state. So recognize what that was for you as you think about making your goals for 2021. So Sheila, you said your mindset helped you stop using payday loans. Cindy, you said setbacks equals lessons. Silver lining is paramount. Okay, so we've gone through this 2020 review, right? What you didn't do well, what you did well, what your mindset was like, where you were emotionally. And so just keep that in mind, keep that to reference. Maybe after the session, you go back and then you review them and maybe add more detail to them, but really reflect on that assessment, right? And take what stands out to you and use it for your next year. There are many lessons that we can learn. I learned a lot about myself when it came to just my mental well.
We're now moving. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Tell me what was the last thing you heard me say?
So we had just finished going through our 2020 reflections and assessments. So we were now moving on to setting the new goals.
Okay, so I'm sorry about that, guys. That has never happened. My computer crashed. You know when you're doing something good and the devil is like, you know what? It's just like, like 2020 has already been messed up. Why not mess it up even more? Okay, so I was talking about, I had gone on this whole spiel, but okay, we'll get back to it. Sorry, guys. If for some reason I get disconnected, I will be back and we will complete this session. Don't worry, okay? Okay. So I had said that we have done that assessment for 2020, and you can come back to it and you can take the time to do more reflections, write more notes. But it's really, really important that you do that reflection so that you can take those lessons and you can use them to set the stage for the new year. And so as we step into 2021, it's time to think about those goals that you want to set. And I really want to say that this, like I've been saying all through, this past year has been very difficult. Many people went through difficult financial situations. Many people have financial concerns, especially as we go into the new year, especially as we navigate the pandemic and everything else that's going on. But I want you to remember that regardless of how difficult this past year was for you, for your family, people still succeeded. People, as human beings, we are resilient, we recover, we move forward, and that is incredibly important. As we navigated 2020, I learned a lot about myself. Like when I think about this reflections that we're doing together, I did this for myself. I learned a lot of myself in terms of just managing my anxiety. I felt a lot of anxiety going through this pandemic with many members of my family working in healthcare, including my husband, my mom, my sister-in-laws, a lot of people in my family, and just having to deal with knowing that we don't know anything about a pandemic, and they're out there working, trying to help people, navigating the social injustice uprising, navigating having my kids home with me and trying to work, navigating my friends, just dealing with difficult situations, including losing people as a result of the pandemic, losing jobs, people not being able to work or go to business because they had nowhere to put their kids. But we all powered through, we all came through it, right? We're all here. And I'm glad this year has been over. But I definitely learned a lot about myself, and I challenged myself with resilience. So one of the things that we did, the US went into lockdown on March 13th. For those of you who remember, I remember where I was. I was flying to pick up my kids because I saw the announcement. And a week later, on March 19th, we decided to make Clever Finance courses all free. And it wasn't because we had a plan for replacing the revenue stream or anything like that. It was because we saw people from our community, an influx of people from our community, outside our community, coming to Clever Finance saying, I was not prepared for the pandemic. I've lost my job. I have no savings. And it was really difficult for me to say, well, I'm going to charge you for this, or I'm going to keep charging you for this, knowing that we can help you right now and we can help you get through the situation. So we decided to make our courses free. And that was something that we had to figure out, like all of us in Clever Finance team, how to pivot and just figure that out. But I'm so glad that we did that because we were able to help so many people. And there's no better feeling than knowing that you can help and support other people, and knowing that you are able to just challenge yourself in a way, right? I was in my comfort zone in a sense when it came to business. I was very comfortable, but this year taught me a lot of lessons personally, business-wise, relationship-wise, and also very importantly that life is short and that we shouldn't take anything for granted. So as we step into 2021, as we start talking about this goal planning, set the intention. You may feel like you don't know how you're going to succeed next year, but I promise you, if you set the intention, if you put it out there, if you have faith, you put it in the universe, because you have prepared yourself to receive, these opportunities will come to you, the ideas will come to you, the solutions will come to you. Don't be discouraged by not knowing what you don't know. A lot of people are saying right now, I'm not going to set goals because you know what, 2020 was so terrible. You're not going to be one of those people. You're going to set your goals. You're going to set the intention because you are going to be part of those people who are going to succeed. So let's talk about 2021 planning right now. So the first thing you want to do when it comes to your planning for 2021 is your goals, right? Very straightforward. And I'm not going to go into specifics of like how to save, how to invest. That stuff you can get from the courses, you can get from the Clever Finance books, which, by the way, if you haven't picked up, are available everywhere books are sold. But I want you to write down your goals. These are the things that you want to accomplish for yourself. These are the things that ultimately will make you happy. These are the financial goals that will help you achieve those things that you desire for yourself. And when it comes to writing down your goals, write them all down. Write all the goals you want to achieve down. But then I want you to narrow them down to 3, right? And 3 doesn't sound like a lot of goals, but I'm sure that if you look at all your goals, you can roll them up into 3 main goals. For instance, get out of debt, start investing, buy your first home. The reason why 3 goals is ideal is because you don't want to overwhelm yourself with so many things you're trying to accomplish at the same time. Because when people are overwhelmed or they have too many goals they're trying to pursue, they end up doing none of them. But when you have real focus on a goal, right, on those 3 things you know you want to accomplish, they're easy to remember. And every time you take an action, you know specifically what action you're taking towards each goal. And what you can do is you can take that big goal and break it down into sub goals where each sub item leads closer to you achieving that big goal. And so when it comes to achieving your goals, they need to be measurable. They need to, so how much, what is the quantification of this goal? How much do you want to save? How much do you want to pay off? They need to have a timeline, by when, right? And they need to be specific. I want to do X that's going to cost X by when. This helps you really focus on the amount, on the thing, and on the time frame. And when you look at that, if you need to adjust it accordingly based on your income, etc., then you can do that. I'm just going to pause and make sure you guys can still see and hear me. We're not doing this freezing thing again. So if you can still see me, you can hear me, type a yes in the comments. I'm just making sure. Okay, good. Thank you, Esther. Okay, so try to narrow your goals down into 3. And I'm not saying throw your other goals away, but just shelve them for now, right? What are your 3 most important goals? And once you cross one off, then you can bring the next one on your list up to one of the line items on your top 3 goals. And those 3 goals are just easier to manage. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. Think about the time that you set, and I've been there, I've set like 20 goals for myself. And then really when I do that, whenever I look back at my goals and I have long lists, because I keep like goals I've set in the past years, I always accomplish 3 to 4. So why didn't I just set out focusing on those 3 to 4 to begin with, like intense focus? And by the way, you know, my word for 2021 is focus and quiet moves, because I felt like this past year just was full of distractions, full of just all kinds of things that just took me away from my big goals that I wanted to accomplish. Not that I didn't accomplish all my goals, but there was just a lot of distraction with everything going on in the world, and a lot of noise. So those are my words. So I also encourage people to have a word for the year, because that word kind of helps you bring you back to, okay, this is your why around why you want to focus on your goals. So you've narrowed down your goals. Like I said, write down all your goals, write down as many as you can, and then prioritize your top 3. Don't throw the others away, just keep them, right? But then prioritize these top 3, make them measurable, make them specific, assign timelines to them. And then for each of your top 3, we're going to get through it. Don't worry. I know, technology of all days. But anyway, so we were talking about, you've made your list of goals. So for each of your top 3 goals, I want you to make a list of key actions you need to take in order to accomplish those goals. So for example, let's say you want to save, right, or pay off debts by the end of the year. How much do you need to save or pay off each month to meet your year-end goal? Really important. You then want to take your actions and break them down into smaller chunks. So what can you do daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly? So from a daily perspective, right, if you're trying to stay focused on your why, stay motivated, it could be reading books, reading a page in a book, listening to a podcast, watching YouTube videos to help you keep your head in the game. Weekly, it could be checking your bank statements, making sure that your payments and your debits went through accordingly. Make sure you check your investment accounts, things like that. Monthly, it could be making sure that you've made your payments on time, you've made your transfers to savings, you've made your investments. And then quarterly, it could be coming back and reviewing your goals. And so you want to make sure that for each of your top 3 goals, you don't just set the goals and say, oh my God, yes, I have my goals on my phone, that you actually have actionable steps that you're going to take every day, every week, every month, every quarter to help you actually make those goals a reality in your life. The next thing you want to do is really determine, as it relates to these top 3 goals that you have set, right? What could cause you not to accomplish your goals? What are the things that could prevent you from being successful, right? From accomplishing your goals? Are there specific things you need to learn, right? Do you need an accountability partner? Do you need to be made accountable in one way or the other? Where are you going to get the help that you need? For each of those goals, write down the specific things you need to learn, the accountability that you need, and where you're going to get the help from. Is it going to be a friend who's on the same journey? Are you going to find a mentor? Are you going to join a community? Are you going to take a course? Write down what you need to do, right? In terms of the things that could prevent you from achieving your goals. That is so, so important. I also want to ask you to think about just asking yourself, am I mentally ready to accomplish these 3 main goals I have for myself? And if you don't feel entirely mentally ready, if you don't feel entirely emotionally ready, what do you need to do? What support system do you need to have in place? What are you willing to do to get out of your comfort zone to make sure that you can be mentally ready, you can be emotionally ready to take on these goals that you have set for yourself? And what's interesting is that when we're setting goals like this, right? It's exciting. It's the beginning of the new year. Everybody's joining the call. We're going to write in our goals. And then, most people fall off their goals by the end of January. By March, pretty much when you look at your circle, maybe you're the only one still pursuing goals. Goals are hard, right? Big goals are difficult to accomplish. Life happens, right? Things beyond your control happen. And so you really have to think about committing. You have to be intentional. You have to be in it. You have to do what it takes. You have to tell yourself, no matter what, I'm going to succeed, because it's cool to set goals, but the hard work is really in taking the actions to accomplish your goals and to succeed. So important. Somebody said, what if your family is the stumbling block, the reason why you are unable to pursue your goals or unable to commit, or what if they're the reason that if they're what can prevent you from accomplishing your goals, being around the wrong people? This is what I will tell you. Your family is your family. You can't get rid of them, right? If they sometimes they live in your house, they're in your kitchen, in your room with you. You can't do much about it, but you can be intentional about how much influence you allow them to have over you when it comes to your goals. Your goals right now, the goals that you have set, are like tiny little seedlings, right? You're about to put them in the ground and plant them. If you tell everybody where they're planted, people who don't really give a damn about your goals are going to come up there, kick around, and knock your seeds out of the ground, and they're going to die fast, right? You want to guard your goals and keep them close to you. There's someone that's not supporting you. You do not need to share your goals with them. If there's someone that's going to down talk you or make you feel foolish for wanting to accomplish something so big, you do not need to share them with them right now. You can find other support systems, other friends, other communities where you can feel comfortable sharing your goals. If anyone is going to shame you or embarrass you about the goals you want to accomplish because they're projecting their own failures upon you, do not share your goals with them. Just because you love your family does not mean they are always the right people to give you advice, especially if they are very negative. So if you have people around you that are not supporting you, keep your goals close to your heart, right? There is value in silence. There's value in quiet moves and just doing the work, doing the work, doing the work. That's what matters. It's not just setting the goals, it's doing the work. And the very interesting and also amazing thing is, as you start to make progress, those same people who are doubting you will come and ask you, oh, wow, how are you doing that? Oh, wow, can you tell me more? Oh, wow, etc. So keep your goals close to yourself. Okay, so in 2021, right, I want you to also focus on setting goals, setting your focus around increase and growth. And this is understanding, where do you stand financially right now? And how do I improve that? Growth and increase. What do I own asset-wise? And how do I increase that? That's growth and increase again. What do I owe and how do I reduce that? Paying down debt ties into your growth and your increase. And just really be clear on where you want to get to by this date next year. So this is December 29th, 2020. Where do you want to be with your finances as it relates to those goals you have written down on December 29th of 2021? So important. And as you set those goals, right? I think we're also used to in setting goals about ourselves. When it comes to goal setting, we're all a little selfish, right? And that's okay, right? It's about your personal success. But also remember that in any ways that you can help others, you can give back to others. And it doesn't have to be about money. It can be about time. It can be about sharing resources. Make sure you do that so that you can help, as you're succeeding, you can help other people succeed too, right? You want to bring people with you on this journey in a way that does not impact you being able to achieve your goals. So just keep that in mind. You also need to, as you set your goals, you also need to keep in mind that, like I said, it's not just setting goals. You need to check in often. You need to commit to a monthly budget. You need to have a debt repayment plan, maintain your credit, actively invest and plan for retirement, because investing is how you grow your money. Really, really important. So this is not just about savings. It's great to save for emergencies, but when we're talking about real wealth, building wealth that can have impact, that can change your life trajectory, that can impact your family positively, that can impact your community. We're talking about building wealth, and we're talking about investing and learning how investing works and being intentional when we invest and being smart investors. And so if investing is something that you've shied away from, you don't understand how it works, definitely take some time out, take our investing course, check out my book on how investing works, and start to be intentional. Set aside funds, set aside money to start investing in your future to build real wealth. So I'm just going to pause and make sure that you guys can still see and hear me before we talk about recession proofing your finances. Thank you guys for being here and navigating my internet and technology issues. But we're making it work. So I love this. Dana, you said you asked for a raise during the pandemic and you got it and you got a bonus. So let's talk about that for a second, because in this pandemic, many people are afraid of losing their jobs, job uncertainty. Many people have lost their jobs. But in this pandemic also, there are many businesses that are thriving, many industries that are thriving, right? And I think if your company is doing well, if you're working in an industry that's thriving in the pandemic, you should ask for what you're worth. You should ask for raises. You should, if necessary, look for a better paying job. You should ask for the bonus. Like I said, just because a lot of bad things are happening around us does not mean that people are not succeeding. And you want to be part of those people that are succeeding. So I love that, Dana, that you said that you asked for the raise and you got it. Okay, so you guys can still hear me. You can still see me. Awesome. So I'm going to answer one more question. Jasmine, you said, if you make a lower salary, then would saving be more of a priority over investing? So for anyone, regardless of your salary, I would definitely say, and we're going to talk about this in a bit, but I would definitely say that you want to have cash put aside. Emergency savings is so, so, so important. I cannot stress emergency savings enough, especially during this difficult time. And so I would definitely make sure that I have that in place and then start investing, right? But you can start investing as you save if you have an employer that offers a 401k by signing up for an IRA and just contributing a small amount, but then focus on that savings. Really, really important. Okay, so let's talk about recession proofing your finances. So we've talked about the assessment of 2020. We've talked about how you're going to lay out your goals for 2021. But when laying out your goals, we have to understand that goals are amazing, but the universe does not care about your goals, really. The only person who cares about your goals is you. Clearly, 2020 did not care about the goals that we had. 2021 likely also does not care about our goals. The only person that cares about our goals is ourselves. And like I said, I'm going to talk about this a bit more. During the pandemic, this pandemic globally was not something that any economies or governments or anything that anybody was prepared for. This came out of the blue, right? Even though there was talk about COVID being around for a long time, nobody expected it to be at this scale, right? And so governments, economies have had to scramble to sustain. So you've seen the PPE loans, you've seen the stimulus checks, the new one that's coming out, you've seen the student loan deferral programs, you've seen, the mortgage deferments, all these different things that the government and corporations have put in place to kind of create some sort of sustainability through this pandemic until we get a resolution. Right now, the resolution that we're all looking at is in the form of the resolution we're all looking at right now is in the form of a vaccine, right? The vaccine is our saving grace, or whatever medicines they create, the scientists, whatever. And so once that happens, right, we're going to have to step into recovery, right? So now it's all about sustenance, getting through. What can governments do? What can economies do? What can corporations do to get people through? But once we get past that, which is kind of what's happening right now with the vaccine coming into play, it's going to go into recovery. And the reason why we cannot avoid the recovery is because all these government programs, all these things are not, the government cannot give stimulus checks forever. We cannot have mortgage deferment forever. We cannot have student loan deferment forever. At some point, we're going to have to face the reality as an economy, as a country, as a world, and try to get through this. And which means that means there are more difficult times to come, right? So I don't have a crystal ball, right? But I will say, just when you think about previous recessions, previous depressions, there has to be once the issue hits, we're still in the midst of this pandemic, then we step into the aftermath. We're not yet in the aftermath of the pandemic. When we get into the aftermath, then we step into the recovery, right? And so leading into that recovery, dealing with the aftermath, I believe there's going to be more job losses. I believe we're going to see the stock market, which is kind of like not really being realistic right now. I believe we're going to see that there. I believe that, we're going to see a lot of economic uncertainty. And so it's really important that you have a plan for your finances to weather through this difficult season. And regardless of what's coming, people are still going to thrive. I keep saying this. People are still going to be successful. People are still going to build businesses. In the 2008 Great Recession, when the housing market collapse, that window of time, 2008, 2009, brought out the highest number of millionaires in the US in recent times. Because when things got difficult, people got resilient, people got out of their comfort zones, people figured out how to make it work to survive. And some people did it in an incredibly major way. And so there's no reason why you too cannot succeed through this difficult period. And so when it comes to recession-proofing your finances, the first most important thing is having cash to weather a storm, having cash to get through a season, right? And that is your emergency fund, right? So I cannot stress having an emergency fund right now. A lot of people say prior to the pandemic, having 3 to 6 months was ideal. I'm going to say that that is not enough, given the uncertainty, given, job losses and high unemployment rates. I would say you want to set a goal to save 9 to 12 months of savings. Do not kill me. I will explain myself. Okay. So if you are employed right now, right, you have the opportunity to save money, which means you can cut back in certain areas that may not be comfortable to try to save, right? And by 9 to 12 months, I don't mean save your entire 1 year salary. If you can, that's great. But I'm talking about your core essentials, the things that you need to survive, which are safe housing for you and your family, your core utilities, right? Your electricity, your water, etc., your internet, food, medicine, transportation to get to work or to find a job. Those are the things that you want to calculate. And when you remove all the nice to haves, all the fancy things from that number may seem more manageable. And it's not the expectation that you have all the money right now to put in a savings account, right? Because most people don't. That's the truth. So you want to build an amount into your budget and say, okay, if I need to save this amount of money this year, how much do I need to save every 2 weeks? So if I need to save this amount of money over the next 24 months, how much do I need to save every 2 weeks, every week, every month to reach that goal, and work that way? And as you're saving, if life happens, you tap into that money, you leverage it to get through the situation, and then you replenish and continue to save. Your emergency fund serves a purpose. It's not for investing, it's not for shopping, it's for helping you navigate difficult situations. Having that cash in hand, right, can make a disaster be a mere inconvenience as opposed to being an actual disaster, right? You lose your job, you have emergency savings to pay your mortgage, to pay your rent, to buy food, to buy medicine for 6 months. You're okay. You can focus all your energies on finding that new job. You lose your job, you don't have any savings in place. Added on to finding a new job, you have the stress of figuring out how you're going to pay your rent, how you're going to buy food, how you're going to buy medicine. So if you're in the position where you can save, these stimulus checks that are coming, that a lot of people are going to get, be intentional about this money, especially if you're employed right now. There's someone who's watching this who is unemployed and is saying, you know what, Bola, I cannot save anything right now. Fine. You are where you are, and that's okay. But you can be intentional about how much debt you take on, and you can minimize how much debt you take on by being very intentional about how you spend the money. And you can think about ways to find a job, get a part-time job, sell things you don't need. When things get difficult, there's no shame here. There's no shame in the work you do. There's no shame in working below your skill set. There's no shame in taking a lower paying job. The goal here is to survive so that you can eventually thrive. This is not about what people think about you. You do not care what people think about you. You care about your well-being. You care about the state of your family. You care about your emotional and mental state. You do not care if someone says, well, I thought you had a 6-figure job. Why are you working at the department store? You do not care. Your goal is to survive. And that person who's talking about you, who's saying, oh, look at you, You don't know how much debt they're in, so don't worry about them. And so when it comes to this emergency savings, where do you keep the money? You want to keep it in a bank account that is easily accessible, that is not invested in the stock market, because you don't want to need the money when the stock market is going through a low. But you also don't want it to be tied to your checking account with a debit card where you're always tempted to spend. So also keep that in mind. Easily accessible, but not something that you can just spend and do things that don't have anything to do with emergencies or difficult times. The second thing you want to do is make sure that your investments are diversified. So I'm not going to delve into investing here, but just, are you invested in individual stocks? Maybe you shouldn't have all your investments there. Is all your investment in one piece of real estate? Not a good idea. Is all your investment in your company stock? Not a good idea. The whole idea when it comes to investments is to have diversification. This way, if one industry or one sector or one investment avenue is not doing so great, you have the other ones that can carry the weight of that. And also, if one, company completely goes down bankrupt, you don't lose all your investments in this company. And so I am more of just I love broad diversification. I love just spreading my investments out as wide as possible, as it makes sense for my plan. This way, you can always preserve your capital, right? For me, the two most important things when it comes to investing are growth, right? I want my money to grow. I want to get appreciation and dividends and compounding, but I also want to preserve my capital, especially during difficult times, right? So if I've invested $100,000, I don't want to have $5,000 left. I want to preserve that capital and also grow that capital. And so diversification is incredibly important. And so just take a look at the investments you have. Are you buying just one stock? Maybe you want to think about just investing in index funds, or investing in, if you're in real estate, investing in the stock market, separating your investments. And if you're a beginner investor, I'm not a huge fan of individual stocks for you, only because when you invest in a single stock, you put all your money there, then the outcome is really dependent on how that company performs, right? And so index funds, ETFs are a great way to diversify. If you're in real estate, think about, okay, is all my investment in this one apartment building or in this one multifamily building? How do I diversify that, etc.? Really important. Someone said, what if you need it? What if you need your investments? That's what your emergency savings is there, right? Is there for. So your investments are long-term. When you invest, you're not investing to pull the money out next week, right? Or next year, long-term. So if you need the money, if you know you're going to need the money next year, you should not be investing it. You know you're going to need the money in less than 5 years. This is money you want to put aside for that goal, so that when you need to do that, when you need to buy that home, you need that money, you can access that money from the account you have it saved. Investing is long-term. Your emergency fund is not an investment account. Your emergency fund is not for investing, basically. Another thing you want to do when it comes to recession is, if you're employed right now and your finances are stable, before if you have a sense of uncertainty, if you think that you may lose your job, you're just worried about things, this is a good time to pay down debt if you have your savings in place, right? Do you have high interest, especially credit cards, personal loans? You want to pay that down if you can. Really important. You also want to think about maintaining your credit, right? And this season of the pandemic has seen a massive increase in credit fraud. And we know that credit fraud and identity theft has always been around, but now more so than ever. So put a freeze on your credit if you're not going to be applying for credit anytime soon. Get credit monitoring in place. Many banks, many credit card companies offer it for free. Credit Karma is free. Make sure that you checking your credit, right? You are entitled by federal law to a free credit report. Check your credit and see and make sure that everything on it is something that you are aware of. About 1 in 3 credit reports have an error on them. And the error can be minor, from a wrong address to a misspelled name, or they can be major, for like an extra zero behind a debt that you owe. Also, if you feel you're going to be losing your job, you feel uncertain about your industry, about your economy, about your company, this is a great time to take advantage of any benefits that your employer offers, especially health benefits. So go to your doctor, get those visits done, get those checkups done, get that prescription medication filled. And even after you lose your job, right? If you have that COBRA option, insurance option, take advantage of getting your prescriptions, seeing your doctors, any benefits that they have that you can take advantage of before you leave that company. Really, really important, especially when it comes to healthcare, because that can be incredibly expensive. And then as we step into the new year, recession-proofing your finances, continue to invest. Don't get caught up in what people are saying on social media. Oh my God, the market is high, the market is low, the market is this, the market is that. Investing consistently over time, over the long term, is the true, tried and tested way to grow your investments. So don't get caught up in chasing hot stocks based on what people are sharing on social media. Stick to your plan. You're investing for the next 15 years, the next 20 years. Invest consistently over time. When an investment is low, this is the stock market on sale. This is that real estate on sale. This is the opportunity for you to buy at a better rate. When the market is high, you still continue to invest. Your money just buys you less. The growth from investment comes from appreciation. It comes from dividends. It comes from increased valuation and compounding. Compounding is the magic here. Compounding is so important. So like I said, definitely check out our investing courses. They're completely free. Check out the investing book as well. So we're getting close to time, and I appreciate you guys, being here with all of the technology challenges. But as you step into 2021, I want you to remember a few things that are incredibly important. Number one, doesn't matter what's happening in the world, you are taking ownership of your finances and of your life. This is you. This is you taking the initiative, you setting the intention, you setting the goals, and you're doing this for a reason, because you want to succeed. It's not always going to be easy, but you can do it, right? If it was easy, we would all be billionaires, right? It's not always going to be easy, but you can do it. Not everyone is going to understand your journey, your family, your friends, etc., even your spouse. It's okay. Keep your goals close to your heart. Very important. Don't let anybody kill your dream before it has an opportunity to grow, right? Before it has an opportunity to take its first step, to crawl. Keep your goals close to your heart. Accountability is so important, right? The people you surround yourself with, whether you believe it or not, they influence you consciously or subconsciously. Anyone who is not for progress or growth or increase or success in 2021, anyone who wants to stay behind in 2020, please distance yourself from those people. Anyone who tells you that you're going to fail because the whole world is failing, please distance yourself from those people. Right now, stepping into this new year, regardless of what that year is going to look like, you want to succeed. That is why you are here. That's why you're setting those goals. And always remember that it is important that you show gratitude. Be grateful. You are alive. You are here. You can watch this. People have lost people this year. People have lost jobs this year. People have been in really difficult financial, health, life situations this year, but you are here. You've made it through a crazy year. And so be grateful. And gratitude brings abundance. Gratitude brings opportunities. Gratitude opens your mind up to receive those opportunities. So many people have had opportunities pass them by because instead of being grateful and open, they fold their arms and they turn their faces away, and they're just so angry and so upset and reflecting on every mistake they've made and woe is me, woe is me. And it's okay to have those pity parties for yourself, to cry about your mistakes, to be like, oh my God, why did I do something so stupid? But once you've cried, you've done that, it's time to move on. It's time to take the lessons and open your eyes and open your heart and move on. And don't let the opportunities pass you by. So we had some technical difficulties, but I do hope that this session was helpful. If you guys are not familiar with our YouTube channel, we have a ton of videos on here. I'm always filming something, so please subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit the like button, head on over to Instagram at Clever Girl Finance and follow us there. We have a great time. Stop by the website. We have over 30 plus free courses, over 40 plus worksheets, completely free. There is no charge. There is no Nothing about them. They're completely free. This is our way of supporting our community during these times, and our courses are permanently free, so you never have to enter a credit card or anything like that. And share, subscribe to our podcast, read the articles on the site. We have new articles on the site every single day, and please stop by and check out the Clever Girl Finance. They are available everywhere books are sold, on Audible, Amazon, etc. And Esther, I know that some folks had some questions, so I'm happy to answer some of the questions that folks had. Did you want to come on camera so that we can go over the questions? Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I know that people are busy. Some folks are at work. You have kids, but you set the intention and you chose to be here. So for anyone who has questions, please hang around. We're going to answer them before we close out this session. I appreciate you guys, and happy New Year in advance.